What up, this is Patrick Hayes. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 different things that you can do to chill somebody else out when they're freaking out or they're losing it. This is something that I feel is like absolutely necessary for those of us that are choosing to be anchors during all of this craziness that's going on with the pandemic right now. And our ability to be able to hold a calm center and then be able to entrain other people into that calm center is going to prove extremely beneficial if our intentions are to make it through this thing in a harmonious way. So what I want to share with you is 7 different things you can do. Now, the first few things I'm going to share are things that you can do to change the actual environment that you're in. So to create an environment that is more supportive of tranquility. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some interactive, interpersonal techniques that you can use in order to bring somebody into a frame that is more supportive of a more graceful and tranquil expression and interaction. Okay, so number 1, the first thing. And it's funny because a lot of people probably haven't thought of these things, but you're going to be like, oh yeah, that would totally be super helpful. The first thing is to turn on some kind of meditative music and let it play in the background. You see, people don't realize how suggestible we are sometimes. They don't realize how much little things like some very tranquil music playing in the background, or even sounds of nature playing in the background, is actually constantly speaking to our subconscious, and in a sense, constantly like massaging our consciousness into relaxation, right? And while one thing alone may only have a certain measure of effect, it can have a tremendous effect. When you stack these things, it can actually really start to create an environment that induces relaxation. Now, if you've ever been to a spa or any place like that, you'll see that these places are intentionally designed to bring about that kind of relaxing, tranquil energy. So the idea is to do things like, number 1, play relaxing music in order to create that spa-like environment. And this is a way of indirectly calming down somebody else that maybe you're in lockdown with that is freaking out. Right? If they're having a lot of stress, maybe it's your parents, they're really stressed out about the situation. You can play some really calming music and it will calm them down and they won't necessarily even know that that's what's happening. So another thing you can do, so we have number 1, which is music. Another thing that you can do is aromatherapy. So if you have a good smelling incense, or you have essential oils and a diffuser, or you have some kind of, I don't know what they call them, but they're those little dishes. My mom used to have these little dishes that she would put out around Christmas, and they smelled like Christmas smells. But anything like that smell like a sweet smell that's very relaxing and calming, if you can put these out in the environment, then that's another, in the olfactory sense, the nose is extremely receptive to shift changes. So if you've ever had the experience where you're walking through some environment and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I know that smell. It reminds me of when I was in preschool, and then you can like picture what the teacher looked like and it kind of brings you back in time. That's because the olfactory sense is very, very powerful at triggering memories and triggering states. So if you can have a beautiful smell that is wafting through the air, that is an extremely powerful way to calm a field down or calm people down. So you got your music playing for them, you have a beautiful scents, and then you have some sort of relaxing tea or supplement or herb that you take. And this is number 3. And what you can do with this is essentially you can find something. Now, I made a video not too long ago, 5 herbs that get you high legally. I'll put the link here, and I mentioned a few things in it, but I'll briefly mention some of the herbs that I suggested in that video. One is blue lotus. You might be able to order some blue lotus off of Amazon and make some blue lotus tea. And this is a very tranquilizing tea. Another thing you could do is you could get a tincture of some valerian root. Valerian root is actually originally where Valium came from. They've synthesized it, so made it synthetic, and then really like amplified the intensity of how strong it is. But if you get a Valerian root tincture, it's actually still quite potent, but it's natural too. So it's not going to take you out of your sovereignty into a synthetic high kind of situation, but it can calm you down tremendously. And there are other things also that can have this kind of effect. I mentioned, I think, a few more of them in the video. But some sort of relaxing, tranquilizing herb, even chamomile, right? Tranquilizing herb that you can take in a tea form or a tincture form. This is something that you could offer to somebody in your environment that is losing it. It can really just help them, relax and get more centered. So those are the 3 things that you can do more in the environment. And there's probably other things too. You could do color therapy. I don't know how easy it is to like paint a new picture or like hang up. You may or may not have some sort of tapestry you can hang up that provides some sort of color therapy. But that could be useful too. But the next things that I want to talk about are things that you can do yourself, having to do with your own vibe and how that vibe will affect other people, and then some things you can do in some techniques for how to interact with people when they're freaking out. So this next one's going to be quite obvious. Meditation. The field of a meditator expands and acts kind of like a vibrational massage to the people around them. And if you've ever been around somebody that's extremely present, you can feel that grace in them, that spaciousness that they hold in their field. And it's quite calming to just be around that in general. Scientifically, you call this mirror neurons. Metaphysically, you can say that this is, a vibrational field that is inducing somebody else's vibrational field to entrain to theirs. And it's really, really powerful. So the more that you can maybe take your time, you set up the environment, like I said earlier, and then you take your time, you go into your room and you meditate, you get into that graceful space and you just hold that energy. That's actually going to translate. Whether it's a very gross translation or not, where it's very obvious or not, that will vary. But it's going to have some effect on the people that you're around, and it's going to help them on some level. Now, some of the other things that you can do in regards to conversation that really kind of stem from this meditation. So this would be number 5. We have the 3 physical things, then we have the 4th, which is meditation. So number 5, this is speaking extremely calmly and slowly to somebody when they're tripping out or when they're losing it. So one of the things you can do is in a conversation, if somebody's rattling off all the things they're afraid about or that they're worried about, oh no, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. What you want to do is you want to give them the patience and you want to show them that you're taking what they're saying seriously, that you're respecting where they're coming from, but you want to bring them into a slower, more calm, more relaxed space as you're doing that. See, what happens is oftentimes if somebody's freaking out, the other person will be like, dude, quit freaking out. You're stupid. I don't want to listen to your shit. Like, that will be their response. Like, listen, you just got to chill out, okay? Like that kind of response. Well, what that's going to do is if somebody's really afraid, they're going to feel that you're not taking them seriously. You're not listening to their fears. Therefore, you're being negligent to this danger that's going on. So you don't want to give them the impression that you're not listening to them or you're not taking them seriously. But what you want to do is you want to take in their perceptions and show them that, yes, I see from the angle that you're speaking to me. I understand your fears and why you would think that. And that makes a lot of sense to see it from that perspective. I can see that. But you're showing them that as you're processing the same information that they're processing, that you can process it in a way that's very balanced and that's very relaxed. And when somebody sees this is like what they would call, a good doctor has what's called bedside manner. And this is if there's a patient that is, battling some sort of life-threatening illness, or they need to give the news to family members that somebody has passed, that they can do it in an extremely graceful and tranquil way so that the information is not charged with the fear. And so In a sense, what you're doing at this point is you're taking in their fear interpretations. You're showing them, look, I'm looking at this fear interpretation with you, but I'm remaining calm because my knowing knows that what you're experiencing is actually, and what you're interpreting is actually something that we can process from a calm space. And so I'm respecting where you're coming from and I'm listening to you, but I'm entraining you into the kind of vibration that is a healthy way of processing the information. And then once you've come into that space, then you can show them that you've sufficiently explored what they were talking about with them, and then maybe make a suggestion like, yeah, I think that's maybe a lot to think about right now. Maybe we should get off the computer for a little bit and maybe go on a walk in the park. Or maybe we should just sit down and drink some tea and kind of like let this move through and be receptive to what kind of solutions could arise considering all of this information that we've just processed. Okay, number 6. And this is great because this is something that has always been a solace or a refuge for people in hard times. And this is humor. We all know this. Sometimes the best thing to do is let things go and just lighten up in some way. So that's, put on a comedy routine on Netflix, or watch a funny movie, or make jokes of the situation, right? But do it, obviously with respect to the person's, state. If they're really worried, to joke about it might cause more problems. But if you can bring them into a calmer space and then kind of lighten things up, right? So you brought them into the calmer space and then you're like, okay. And you know what, this thing about the toilet paper, you could go into some sort of joke regarding the situation and kind of like lighten the mood a little bit. Humor is great for that. And, if you don't have it in you necessarily, then, go on the internet, find something that's funny, watch funny videos on the internet, maybe something that has nothing to do with the situation that we're going through, right? Just lighten the mood up. That can be really, really powerful. And then number 7 is try to direct a conversation or initiate a conversation that brings the person that is worrying into a realm of their own passions, of the things that they're excited about, the things that they are passionate about doing in their life, or things that they really enjoy, like different maybe kinds of art or different music that they really enjoy, and get them talking about what they're passionate about. Because this is one of the greatest ways to shift the energy from a fear state where we're focusing on fear and actually spiraling into, say, like a dimension that reinforces that fear and worry, versus somebody that's really excited about the things that make them, that bring them alive, right? That make them passionate in the world, whether it's a craft or music or art or movies or whatever it is that they're really passionate about. And if you can, once you've calmed them down, lighten the mood, you can bring them into that kind of a frame, then you can start sparking that jovial sense of being within that person, where they can get excited about the opportunity to work on their craft or to plan some beautiful thing for the future or whatever it is. And this actually really helps at a collective consciousness level too, because then this is actually, this is planting seeds into a reality that's more uplifting, right? It's changing the whole vibration of how people are interpreting their reality, and it's getting people into their power zone. It's getting people into their kind of zone where they're connecting into what their gifts are, what they're passionate about, which is actually rooted in the gift that they have to share the world, right? So if you get somebody into their passion, you get them excited about working on a music project and talking about that and amped up about that, especially if you're on lockdown, right? Then they can start focusing on these things, and that changes the momentum of the entire field that you're in. If the person was spiraling down, they can start spiraling up then. And the more we can do that with the collective, and I don't mean this in the sense that we should neglect what's happening right now, but the more people that we can get optimistic and excited about doing something awesome in the future and less about like worrying, then the more that creates a kind of field that is receptive to solutionary kind of thinking. And some people, their passion may be at this time to synthesize information, to comb through all of the different things that are going on during this crisis and try to make sense of things and then upload a higher resolution understanding to the collective so that people can understand that. But something very important to be aware of is that if you or the person that you're analyzing regarding this statement is not in a balanced, tranquil, optimistic, and solutionary kind of vibration, then it's not their job to be doing the synthesis, right? So if you're feeling, or somebody that you know is freaking out, feeling like, oh, I need to figure out all this information to try to find out a solution, and you're freaking out about it, you're not going to be able to find out a good solution. So actually, maybe it's better for you to chill yourself out and let somebody that is really good at being tranquil and processing things from a balanced place be the one that is synthesizing information and uploading clearer, more high resolution interpretations of the situation. So again, this is not avoidance. This is emotional sovereignty, bringing us into a state of emotional sovereignty so that we can be clear, and then we will actually have the kind of vibrational set point necessary to make responsible decisions. So thanks so much for tuning in. This is Patrick Hayes. If you liked this video, you think it was useful, please share it with somebody else that might be able to find this useful. If you know anybody that is stuck inside a house with a bunch of people that are freaking out right now, send them this video so that they can use some of these techniques to buffer the energy and hopefully stabilize the energy, because really collective sanity is dependent on people that are interested and willing to create anchors of stability in the community and in their households right now. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is Patrick Hayes, and I'll talk to you next time. One love.